I came in office, for example, the Department of Children and Family Services was in terrible shape. And we had to invest in it. It took us several years to hire up and make sure we're delivering what people really need. But thank goodness we've made enormous improvements in DCFS and across state government, which have been hollowed out by my Republican predecessor, who left us in a shambles.
My goodness, these are kids. I mean, like, job one ought to be getting DCFS functional as an agency. And yet, continuously for 6 years of Governor Pritzker, we just see, sort of this kind of willful indifference of, and antipathy towards, sound management, good, good administrative practice. Time and again, they get dinged on audits, but it all starts at the top.
It's State Senator Chapin Rose. Before that, Governor J.B. Pritzker talking about the state's child welfare agency. In the headline at thecentersquare.com, Illinois DCFS can't locate documents showing number of missing children. It's Illinois in Focus daily on this Thursday. Good morning. I'm Greg Bishop. You can subscribe to Illinois in Focus and wake up with us each and every weekday morning. Find clips from Illinois and from across the country here on YouTube and beyond. Get more at thecentersquare.com. So we have this story where veto session last week, starting off, we published a story about how the number of missing children that were in the care of the Department of Children and Family Services spiked in 2023 to 2024 from 16 to 166. That's 1,000% increase. And those documents obtained by a State House candidate, Bailey Templeton. So I put a FOIA request in on October 21st for the Center Square to get those public records showing that the number of children missing that were in care of DCFS spiked. DCFS reached out, communicating back and forth, saying that the numbers were, not correct, or the terminology they used in the story for on the record, they said were not completely accurate. So we're still waiting, though, all right, because FOIA requests are supposed to be responded to within 5 days. They do have the option of extending it another 5 days, but it's been now beyond that extra 5-day point. And you have the department's Freedom of Information officer saying that they're still looking for him. Here you can see the quote, the response to my FOIA request. The officer said, once the documents are located, assuming they exist, the FOIA office will review and release records as appropriate. So they can't find the documents to show that they can't find missing children with the Department of Children and Family Services. I talked with State Senator Chapin Rose. He is a Republican from Central Illinois, and he's also on the Legislative Audit Commission. It's a truly bipartisan committee that looks at state agencies and audits of state agencies. And I asked him about, hey, is it important for the DCFS to get this right?
No, continually, DCFS is literally the most important agency in our state, and yet continually under Governor Pritzker, it's the worst run agency. It's had director after director after director. Then suddenly you get one guy in with ends up getting hauled into court, a dozen times on orders to show cause by various judges in Illinois, and then Pritzker stands by the guy. I mean, before finally firing him. I mean, it's just, when you are this poorly managed, this poorly run, it should shock no one that you've had this kind of a run-up. But my goodness, these are kids. I mean, like, job one ought to be getting DCFS functional as an agency. And yet, continuously for 6 years of Governor Pritzker, we just see, sort of this kind of willful indifference of, and antipathy towards, sound management, good, good administrative practice. Time and again, they get dinged on audits, but it all starts at the top. And if you're not going to put someone in, install someone in the agency that A, knows what they're doing, B, has the credibility to do it, and then stand by them, or worse, stand by the guy that kept getting hauled into court with all kinds of rule to show causes from judges across Illinois, stand by that guy for years when he clearly should have been fired. This is where you end up. And again, I I just think it's like the rest of the Pritzker administrative bureaucracy. It's just nothing works. He doesn't put people in charge of these agencies that really know what they're doing or know how to do it.
So the senator there talking about the management of state agencies in general, and in particular, he says the most important one, the Department of Children and Family Services. I mean, you've got audits showing the Department of Children and Family Services unable to produce certain documents, even with the missing children story. If you go back to that story we published on the 27th, I think actually I published on the 26th, about the story then was they're going to update the missing children numbers. And here we are more than a week later, and they still haven't updated the documents that I requested through FOIA to show how many missing children there are, youth in care, that are missing. Governor J.B. Pritzker, unrelated to the questions about the agency's management and the inability to get those numbers. And again, I'm not looking for communications back and forth in emails and communications back and forth in texts. I'm looking for just a spreadsheet that they may have of how many children are missing from 2019 to 2025 on an annual basis. But Governor J.B. Pritzker yesterday, unrelated, he talked about how he's turned around DCFS.
No,
Here's the governor from yesterday at an unrelated event.
When I came in office, for example, the Department of Children and Family Services was in terrible shape. And we had to invest in it. It took us several years to hire up and make sure we're delivering what people really need. But thank goodness we've made enormous improvements in DCFS and across state government, which have been hollowed out by my Republican predecessor, who left us in a shambles.
Now, if you look at the history here, Governor J.B. Pritzker coming into office in 2019. Go to the story at thecentersquare.com. Since Pritzker took office, there have been numerous lawsuits against the agency and 3 different directors. The state budget has $2.5 billion from taxpayers going to the agency, an increase of $1.2 billion since fiscal year 2019. So, yeah, the governor has put a lot more money into it, but are the problems still persistent? Again, Chapin Rose on the Legislative Audit Commission says the Audit Commission can do a lot for transparency, but they're limited.
the frustrating thing about the Audit Commission is, we audit, which by its very denotative sense of the word is always after the fact, right? So our audits come in, after whatever action occurred. But it is an opportunity to put the spotlight, on an agency, put a spotlight on a process, on a procedure, on a director, and let the rest of Illinois know what's working and what isn't working. And so, over time, you can see agencies start to improve behavior. But again, it's a long slog, but it starts at the top. And if you're not going to appoint credible people that can to run these agencies, and again, I would assert that DCFS dealing with children would literally be the most important agency to get it right at. And yet you've got, 5 years now of Pritzker, and it's just been a mess. It's been a mess his entire tenure as governor.
So it got another thing that I want to touch on here briefly about DCFS, because I had another source, and we're going to have to delve more into this particular angle of the DCFS story. But one source told me that, hey, there's somebody making almost $500,000 annually at DCFS, an employee, not the director. And I went to the comptroller's database, and you can follow along here. If you search Illinois Comptroller Salary Database, you'll be able to find the area where you can search for the comptroller's data that they keep on employees and the salaries. Because again, you're the taxpayer. Here we are, not vendor payments. Let's get state employee data and look up. All right, we'll do this search. Salary database. State employee. Let's do that. And voila. All right. So if you get to salary database, you'll be able to change, let's just say 2024. All right. We'll pick agency, children, and search. Now, you'll get, obviously, it's sorted by alphabet, I believe, but you can change the rate of pay, and then it will essentially change it to Year-to-date gross. Let's do year-to-date gross. Should have pulled this up beforehand. So we want to do it from ascending to descending, and you can see here there are several state employees within the Department of Children and Family Services making almost $400,000 in 2024. How many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that made over $300,000. And then I think I counted before you had 40 some odd people making over $200,000 at the Department of Children and Family Services. What is happening there? It's a lot of money, and it's more than what the department director makes. So is this another issue that is it an issue of overtime? Is it an issue of them, purposefully not getting more people on board so that you can have a host of people making $300,000 a year in overtime costs? What's going on here? Rose, I asked him about that, and he said, listen, DCFS isn't the only agency this is happening at. He said it's pervasive elsewhere as well.
Again, this all lands at Governor Pritzker's feet. As he runs for president, he literally cares nothing about the actual ship of state. Is our train on the tracks? Is our train off the tracks? Is our train going off the tracks, right? The lights turn on when you flip the switch. None of that is working under his leadership. And by the way, you can take what you just said and apply that to just about every agency in the state.
So I mean, is it overtime you're thinking, or is it just
there's clear overtime issues, and that's been ongoing with CMS. You'll see that rear up at Department of Corrections, for example, quite a bit. Again, it's largely administrative. Some of it has been budgetary, but even I would point out, even when agencies come to us, as has both DCFS and DOC, and said, hey, we need budget amendments to help address staffing. We've given them those amendments, and yet the overtime continues to be a black eye. So, which tells me, once again, this is a management issue. It's a management issue that lands at Governor Pritzker's feet for not appointing directors and secretaries of these different departments and agencies that A, know what they're doing, and B, have the competency to put it into place.
Again, that's State Senator Chapin Rose answering some of my questions last week about an ongoing story with DCFS. So we're still waiting for the numbers. Again, DCFS FOIA officer said that they're still working to locate the numbers of how many missing kids there are annually, even though they already put out a chart to somebody else through the Freedom of Information. All right, it is Illinois in Focus Daily each and every weekday morning here for the Center Square. I'm Greg Bishop. Get headlines at thecentersquare.com.